Alright, my kitties, it's time for another Candlelight Tale. I figured that tonight, instead of just telling one of the tales that I usually do, I would do something I'm actually really into right now. If you haven't been reading Ghost Hunting Theories, you've missed it all. But I'm going to tell a story about, apparently, the Klossuth giants. And I will read this from the actual report that was written about it. October was a month of some excitement in scientific circles as 7 strange and gigantic mummies were discovered just outside of Klossuth Center. Marvin Rainwater, a local farmer, had been digging a new well on his property and struck a deposit of very hard stone about 9 feet below the topsoil. In attempting to dig it out, he found out that it was more than 4 feet wide in every direction. Removing it would be a terrific chore. He considered the possibility that this was a layer of bedrock, but that would certainly be odd that close to the surface. Further, being somewhat familiar with geologic deposits, he knew that the stone was not a familiar limestone, for which eastern Iowa, areas like Stone City, are famous. This was something entirely different. Upon close inspection, Rainwater also saw that the stone was not as rough as should be expected in natural formation, but was in fact smooth and polished. Now, very curious as to the nature of the find, he called several friends from surrounding farms, and they began an excavation. They discovered that it was not a single stone, but rather one of at least several irregularly cut slabs, stretching out over a wide area, yet fitting so tightly together that even a knife blade could not be put between them. Each slab measured 8 feet by 10 feet, and when struck with a sledgehammer, seemed to ring with a hollowness that might indicate that this was not a floor, but the outside portion of a ceiling. Rainwater wondered if he had not stumbled upon some sort of buried stone structure on his property. Believing that there might be a way to parlay living other than farming, he played his cards right. Mr. Rainwater contacted George von Potebrod College, who in turn dispatched a team of archaeologists, anthropologists, and geologists to the site. The researchers were delighted with the anomalies presented. Firstly, the stone was not at all native to Iowa, but was in fact a basalt, a hard, dense volcanic rock composed of plagioclase, augite, and magnetite, the type of stone used by the Egyptians to build their massive monuments. The depth of the slabs indicated that they had been there for a very long time, predicting the advent of a kind of modern transportation heavy machinery needed to bring such a large quantity of foreign stone to Iowa, and quite probably the slabs had been laid before the last glacial age. It was impossible to gauge with any certainty just how long they had been there. After the soil covering the slabs had been entirely removed, the area covered by the stones was a perfect square measuring 188 feet on each side. Digging around the perimeter revealed that Rainwater had been correct. The structure did go deeper into the ground. The Cyclopean structure was a pyramid similar in shape to one located in Marietta, Ohio. Although most mounds and monuments erected by the prehistoric Indians were made of sun-dried brick mixed with brushes, this technique, too, is curiously similar to the Egyptian technique of brick making with straw and mud. It took many months, but the entire structure was finally exposed, and on the eastern side was found a massive filled-in archway that resembled those of ancient Greece. At the bottom of the arch was a smaller arch measuring only 6 feet to the capstone. This too had been filled in and blocked off. With genuine awe and some hesitancy, the scientists of the Rainwater site began the work of opening the smaller entryway, wondering what secrets lay within. When the light from the forest torch penetrated the gloom of the ancient structure, Albert Glosslochner gasped at what he saw were 7 huge and exquisitely detailed statues sitting in a ring around a very large and deep fire pit. Moving closer, he realized the figures were not carved of stone, but were in fact the mummified remains of some giant humanoid race. Could what they have found in fact been a prehistoric vault of pre-human creatures, or was it a prison designed to hold some freakish aberration of nature? The figures were all fully 10 feet tall, even when measured seated in the cross-legged position. They all faced into the circle with their arms folded over their legs. Upon closer examination, it was seen that they had double rows of teeth in their upper and lower jaws. The foreheads were unusually low and sloping, with exceedingly prominent brows. The skin of the mysterious giants was wrinkled and tough as though tanned, and the hair on each of them was distinctly red in their color. Their faces, still very expressive even in death, taunted the scientists with their silence. Who and what were these creatures, and how did they come to be locked in the stone room where the stone itself, and where had the stone come from originally? So what we have here is a really interesting correlate with just about every find that we've heard about for ancient giants, as far as what they physically look like and how they were also entombed. In fact, the ones in Death Valley were described in a very similar thing, where it looked as if they were soldiers that were lined up in a circle around their leader in death. So, interesting stuff, and just another one of those awesome giant mysteries I wanted to share with you. Thanks.